What's up guys, Shawnthebro here, and in today's episode of the Super Smash Brothers and Platform Fighter tutorial series, we are going to be going over improving our stage selection screen. So in the previous episode, we updated our character select screen. So if we select our character now, the character's name is displayed at the bottom of this section here, and this works for all the characters that we have. I want to do a similar thing with our stage selection screen as well. So if we come in here, we'll continue to the stage selection screen, we can grab our token. It says stage right now, we're going to hide that like we did with the character select until a selection is chosen, but when we actually do make a selection, it changes to the name of the map. So that's what we're covering for today's episode. If you want to get caught up in the series before you check out this episode, that way you can implement your own Super Smash Brothers or Platform Fighter game, then feel free to click this link in the top right corner right here, which is the playlist for all the Platform Fighter tutorial episodes. Alternatively, if you don't care about that, you just care about the stage select screen and its improvements, I do recommend you watch the previous stage select screen episode where we actually created the behavior for it, as we're going to be building on top of that logic today. And if you've already done that, then this will come a lot more easily. So with that out of the way, we can go ahead and get started. This is a code and blueprint tutorial series. We're going to be doing pretty much everything in the blueprint since we're in the stage select screen widget today. But I am going to go into the code for our enum values and a few other things. So first things first, we want to go to our stage select screen widget. So I already have it open, but just go to stage select screen. I have this widget right here. On the designer view, I want to add something here to represent the name of the stage. So I'm just putting it in with the image of the stage that we have here. You could put it wherever you want, obviously customize it to your liking. So like the character select screen, we had text boxes that we were using to display this data, and we were just increasing the Z order to 2. That was higher than anything that we were trying to render this text on top of. We're going to do the same thing with our stage select screen in today's episode. So we want to grab the text widget here. It's in common, but you can also search for it. And just drag this into your hierarchy. Now again, this is in Unreal Engine 5. If you're in Unreal Engine 4, you'll have a canvas panel by default. If you're in Unreal Engine 5, you won't. So you might have a little bit of a different setup than I do here. But for me, if you're trying to follow my exact setup, I just put it at the very bottom of my canvas panel. I have a canvas panel for the entire size of the widget I want to display. Bottom element is the text here. I've called the text selected stage text, and I made it a variable because we are going to want to change the text in here based off what selection the players make. All this is up to you, but I'll show you this stuff just in case you're interested. So it is anchored to the top left, which is the default. I've set my positions, my sizes, and my Z order is 2. If I make it 1, it will technically work because this image has a Z order of 1. But if I change the order of these elements in the hierarchy, it would break. So just for ease of use, I'm going to make this 2. That way it will always render on top of it. For the text, you can have something in here by default, just like we do on the screen right now. But if you want to make it like the character text, where it only shows up once there's something selected, then you could clear this text out and just enter. If you do this when we play, then you won't see the word stage there. But when we make a selection, you'll see it. I'm going to keep it that way because I do like it more that way, but either way is perfectly acceptable. Now here is my actual style and appearance. So you have my color, my font size, my outline size. My justification is centered, so it appears in the center of this text box. Those are all my settings. So now we want to go to the graph. Now the event graph on the stage select screen is much smaller than the character select screen, and we're going to go to the same event that we did in the previous episode. We have a grab coin custom event that occurs when we press our input action for menu_grab coin. If the player already has the coin, we're changing the cursor to drop the coin and determine what selection we've actually made. That's this top branch here. If they don't have the coin, I don't do anything like that. That's this bottom branch here. So I don't need to adjust the text or the image at that point. But going forward with what we have today, I had determined coin placement in the top here. So once we release the coin, we're figuring out where the coin was placed. And we're setting that in current stage selection. Then we're performing a switch on that stage enum to determine what we should set the brush to. We have a few different stages that we can set as the brush for that image. So if it's default map, we select this image. If it's training room, we select this image. Either way, at the end of this logic, I'm adding a new node today to set the selected stage text. So we grab our new variable, selected stage text, get it, and we call set text on it, in parentheses, text. Then we want to set a text value on it. Now, what I'm doing is taking the name of our enum here and converting it to text. Basically, the name of the enum becomes the text that's displayed to the user. So current stage selection, type to string. You can select enum to string, which will get you this node here. And since we are setting the text on a text element, then we actually need to convert it to text as well. So you can drag off of the string part of that node, type to text. String. Here's your text value. So now you can drag this into the inText on your setText node. So we're doing that for all cases in the switch statement because this will be dynamic based off the enum value. The other case is if it's random. We have this boolean coming from determine coin placement for if it's random, and we were only doing the logic to set these brushes if it wasn't random. If it is random, we do some other logic to set the image to be that question mark. However, we want to do something else for this today. So if the branch is true that it is random, I'm grabbing my selected stage text and calling set text on it again, but this time I'm manually typing in random. If you had an enum value for random, you could go ahead and just plug it in just like the other ones. But I only have enum values for every actual stage, so I'm just hard coding this text to be random. Now, this technically works, but there is one thing that I want to change in the series. So when we initially made the stage select screen, we made this blueprint enum called eStage to represent the different levels that we have in our game. This was perfectly fine at the time, but as our game went on, we added an actual eStage enum in our game instance class. So if we go to the code, and specifically we go to game instance, or base game instance, let's go to the header file, and scroll down to our enums. We have this E-level type enum. And it has 3 values right now, none, which is the default, then we have training stage 1 and training stage 2. Training stage is technically what we were calling default map, and then training stage 2 is technically what we were calling training map, or training stage. But we don't need 2 enums for this. In fact, I want to use the code enum, not the blueprint enum. So I'm going to launch the editor again. And now we're going to replace that enum. So first things first, I'm going to go back into my stage select screen, go to the graph, and the first place we use this is the return value in determine coin placement. So I'm going to switch this. Instead of eStage, I'm going to replace this with eLevel type. Now when I do this, of course, I'm going to get some errors because we just changed the enum. So let's go into determine coin placement and see where we're returning this value. The initial spot here is if we are over the training map. It's going to reset back to none because that's the default value, but I actually want this first one to be training stage. I know this mainly because the stage 1 button is what we're checking to see if we're over top of right now, but also just because I did set this up in order from top left to bottom right. So the first check in this function is going to be for the training stage. Now, next one is the stage 2 button, which is our training stage 2. So we're going to update our coin placement to be training stage 2. The last one is for stage 3 button, which is actually our random button. So this one is a little bit different. We actually determine a random stage in here, but we don't need to determine a coin placement because it's not going to go through that logic. So I'm just going to leave coin placement as none. Let's go back to the event graph now, and we have this variable current stage selection, which was just a local variable in our stage select screen. We can keep this, but we need to also change this to be E-level type instead of E-stage. You might get this warning about it breaking connections. That's fine. We can still change the type. Now at this point, I'm going to refresh the node, and you can see it's not broken anymore, but it did disconnect everything like it said it would. we want to drag coin placement back into the set on the current stage selection. Then drag the result of that into this node right here, which was the enum to string. This one right here isn't going to work because this works off of a specific enum. So we need to drag off of our set and do to string, enum to string, and just do this part again. Drag the string back into the to text node. Then the current stage selection can be brought into the switch statement, but we need to switch the switch statement out. So get rid of the switch statement, drag off, do another switch statement, switch on E-level type. Now, if it's none, I'm not going to do anything. If it's training stage, we're going to go to our first one. If it's training stage 2, we're going to go to our second one. Now we're almost caught up here. Let's see what other errors we have. So on pressed continue button, this is when we proceed to the level. Check to see what current stage selection is, and then opens the proper level. So we can refresh this node now, but it's not going to work with this switch statement. So we're going to need to drag off again, switch on E-level type. If it's none, we're not going to do anything. If it's training stage, we're going to open the level. This is our default map, or our first level, which is the side scroller example map. If it's training stage 2, we're going to open this level, which is our training room. Now let's see what else we have in here. So now in determine random stage, after we determine our random value, we were setting the current stage selection to that value. We still want to do this. We have to do it for both index 0 and index 1. The bottom one here did not work, but the top one did work. Doesn't really matter. Just make sure that these are both refreshed. Remember, index 0 is not going to be none, but instead training stage, and index 1 is not going to be none, but instead training stage 2. Now at this point, we should be able to come into the game, and everything should work as intended. We can skip past the character select, training stage, and it's using the new names, training stage 2 and random. So we know this is working. Once we have that working, we can remove the eStage enum to clean up our project. I have it right here. Just to check, this is the same as the thing I was just editing. And so at this point, I'm going to click on it, press the delete key, or right click and delete it, and then force delete. So it's been deleted. Let's go ahead and save everything, and then let's launch the game. There are no errors, so it looks like we are good to go. I pick my character, I come pick my stage, then we load into the game. Everything seems to be working as intended. So there you go, guys. That's how you can improve your stage select screen to show the name, as well as clean up your project a little bit in the process. If this helps you improve your stage select screen, or maybe even create your stage select screen if you went back and watched previous episodes, then please subscribe. It does more for myself and the channel than anything else you can do, and I really appreciate that. I want to give a huge shout out to my YouTube membership, Patreon members, and Discord subscribers. You guys are really awesome, and I appreciate all the extra love and support that you've given. I'm so happy that you're enjoying this series like you are. If you ran into any problems while following this tutorial, or any of my tutorials, feel free to join the Discord community. There's a link in the description, and I would be happy to help you out with all that support. That's all I got, so thank you so much for watching. I'm Shawnthebro, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, guys.